Hello everybody, welcome. Today I will introduce you to the European Parliament. The European Parliament is one of the original institutions of the European coal and steel community. Yet its powers have tremendously increased over the course of time. Today, the European Parliament is one of the core EU institutions in many policy-making processes. In addition, the European Parliament displays democratic features that are quite unique within international organizations. However, concerns about the European Union's democratic deficits remain relevant. Let's have a look at the European Parliament's historical evolution. In the institutional design of the European coal and steel community, the European Parliament was called the Common Assembly. Its members had a dual mandate, which means that they were also members of the national parliaments. However, the Assembly did not have any legislative powers. With the Treaty of Rome of 1957, the name was changed to European Parliamentary Assembly, and it received limited budgetary powers. This power to influence budgetary decisions is an important tool for the Parliament, as it can use it as a leverage to demand policy concessions in other policy areas. This can be described as the power of the purse. In 1962, the European Parliamentary Assembly decided for itself to adopt the name European Parliament. It was a symbolic move to demonstrate that the institution strove to play a stronger role and one that is similar to national parliaments. In 1979, the first European parliamentary elections through direct universal suffrage were held. Before 1979, the parliament's members had always been nominated by the national parliaments without a direct vote from the citizens. This direct universal suffrage brought the European Parliament one step closer to directly representing the European citizens. However, a uniform EU-wide electoral system is still lacking today. In different member states, different voting procedures, through, for example, different voting ages or different voting thresholds apply. With a single European Act of 1987, the European Parliament got more and more involved in the decision-making process, first through the cooperation procedure. This procedure gave the Parliament a voice in the legislative process, although not to the same extent as the Council of the European Union. The cooperation procedure, however, marked the start of the development of the European Parliament into a fully fledged co-legislator today. From here on, with every revision of the EU treaties, the European Parliament increased its legislative role and influence. In 1992, the Maastricht Treaty extended the cooperation procedure and introduced a new procedure, the co-decision procedure. This new procedure resembles strongly the ordinary legislative procedure that we know today. The extension of those rights marks a tremendous success for the European Parliament, making it a co-legislator with a Council of Ministers for a limited number of policy areas. The Amsterdam Treaty later extended the scope of application of this co-decision procedure and simplified it, basically to the form that we know today. And finally, the Lisbon Treaty renamed the co-decision procedure into the ordinary legislative procedure. It also, yet again, expanded the scope of application so that it, like its name suggests, has become the ordinary or the standard procedure used for making EU laws. Over the course of EU history, the European Parliament has gradually gained more powers and influence in the legislative process. The European Parliament has different roles. It directly represents the European citizens in European decision-making processes. It also is a co-legislator on many EU laws. It has an influence on the adoption of the EU budget. and it checks whether some of the other EU institutions do their job correctly. The European Parliament has a legislative role in various policy-making procedures. First, it plays an important role in the ordinary legislative procedure, in which the European Parliament and the Council of the European Union co-decide on the adoption of EU legislation. Second, the Parliament plays an important role in the consent procedure, where it cannot amend the legislative text, but it has to give its consent for a new law to be adopted. An example of this consent procedure is the adoption of international trade agreements. Third, the Parliament has a less influential role in the consultation procedure, which obliges the Council of the European Union to take the European Parliament's opinion into account, but without the opinion being binding. The Parliament can also ask the European Commission to start a legislative procedure by preparing an own initiative report which needs to be adopted by a majority of the Parliament's members. The Commission then has the liberty to decide whether or not they officially want to start a legislative procedure and what exactly they put into the legislative proposal. Next to laws, the European Parliament also plays a role in the adoption of the EU budget. It must give its consent to the so-called multi-annual financial framework, which is negotiated once every 7 years. In addition, the European Parliament decides as a co-legislator with the Council of the European Union on the EU's annual budget. A third role of the European Parliament is the supervision of the executive. This takes many forms and occurs at various occasions. In general, the Parliament monitors EU policy implementation and can establish temporary committees of inquiry for critical cases. The European Parliament has strong supervisory powers over the European Commission. For example, it scrutinizes the appointment of the Commission President as well as the Commissioners. And the Parliament can also dismiss the entire College of Commissioners. In addition, the European Parliament also supervises the Council of the European Union, for example, through the right to ask the Council questions. To a lesser extent, other bodies and institutions are supervised by the Parliament, such as the European Council, the High Representative, and the European Central Bank, through its powers to ask questions or its influence on the appointment procedures. Most of those supervisory roles are played. The European Parliament has gone through a tremendous transformation over the course of its history, from an assembly of delegates from national parliaments to an influential co-legislator in many policy areas of the European Union. Today, it fulfills some very important roles and has become a crucial institution of the European Union.